I have a special treat for you on this DIY. We are going to do woodland ornaments. This is on rice paper. This will be available for download on the website at dandysoap.com/DIY supply. The link will be down below. You'll need your Mod Podge, and we are going to use Rust-Oleum linen white chalk paint for the background. So you can use a white, and that just helps these to pop. Now these that I have printed mine on rice paper. When you do the download, you can print it on rice paper, regular paper, mulberry, whichever you like. And these are so beautiful. Now I have two that are the woodland, that are all the woodland animals. So you see these. And then this one is the, what I call the water and land. So you can see you got the platypus and like the piper, otter, penguin. So different ones on here. Kangaroo, but they are beautiful. So that is the special treat, is you will be able to download any one of these digitally from the website. When you go through any of your ornaments, you want to check the size against whatever you decide to print your woodland animals on. And just the size is going to matter, because these could actually stand to be bigger. So I have some that were small, some that were a little bigger in the same pack. I'll be sure to leave you a link for these pine slices from Amazon. And dampen your brush a little bit, of course, before you start into your paint. Now the trick here is we don't want to take away from this wood slice, as far as it is a wood slice, and we want that outer bark beauty. So we're going to kind of stay within the inner perimeter of that circle. And you don't have to paint heavy. The idea of putting the white on there is to make the decoupaging pop, because the animals have a lot of greenery and darkness to them. So this will just help that thin rice paper to really show up their color and their contrast and all the details within them. So it'll take me a moment to get all these painted, and what I'll do is I'll do a set and get started showing you the rest of it, and then I will do the others. These already were pre-drilled, by the way. So when you purchase this particular ones, they have their hole already through them. But if you needed to, you can make it larger. You can also add tassels and ribbons and adorn it in different ways as far as what hangs off of the ornament. I haven't decided yet. So you see, I've got that light coat laid down on that one, and I'll move on and do the others. Now, with all of my surfaces painted, one thing that you're going to have to do, if you have got the smaller ones like me, is you're going to have to pick one and kind of size them up. Now, since mine is on rice paper, I'm basically going to tear it. You can use a Q-tip. That will get you a little more accuracy in making sure that you get the tear that you want. But rice paper, as you can see, is just like super gentle. And I know that right up here at my bunny's ears is where I need more of that in the center taken off. But you can see how accurate you can tear just by going through there. Now, I know that I'm going to lose a lot of this holly in this application, but the idea is to test your water, so to speak, by tearing on your rice paper and seeing how well you do. Now, as you can see, this up here near the ear, I already know that I don't want that corner. And I know that I want to make sure that those are not sharp. So I want it a little bit closer. See, I got some of his ear right then. But I want more of the picture and less of the paper. So I've got a little more of him. And that is just okay. It just really is. But we may do better with a Q-tip. So now I can put it on that same one that I had. And when I go to decoupage and lay that down. Now, as you can see, that white really helps these to pop. And I'll sand off any difference that is not Mod Podge on there. So just giving you an example. So that is the bunny. Now let's try to size one up for, let's say, the little field mouse. And these larger ones really are the thing. And the way this printed landscape, that's the way it's laid out, so that you are aware. And see, he is fitting on that one really, really good. The deer with the antlers, now that one's going to be tricky trying to find one that is large enough. And the reason why I'm doing this is I want to try the Q-tip versus the tear, because see, I want to preserve as much of him as I possibly can. So as on the Q-tip, you just put it in some water and get that little Q-tip wet. And let's see how well it does in kind of laying down the Q-tip. See if I can get a little bit closer on the paper, and then that way I don't lose anything. And the great thing about the wet is it's going to let go right then. So there we go. We may just need to do a Q-tip method on him. So that's two that I have out, and then I can get a little closer where I did get that wet. And I like this rigidness, this tattered edge really good. All right, and then I will also like go in here and I can pull that away with that Q-tip. And I know that a lot of this is going to come off anyway, so I'm not going to worry over it. And that'll help you be more productive and move a little swifter too. And now we can see even more so how much, and even if some of the antler comes off, as long as I get all of him on there, that's my main focus, is getting all of my deer. So it looks pretty good. And I'll move along and do the rest of mine, what I end up with. So it looks pretty good. So now it's just a matter of Mod Podging those into place. And I'm going to trim out the rest and try to get them sized up. Now I have placed these on one that I think they'll fit the best. As I said, some of this is going to be lost because of the size of my slices. The idea here, though, with using the rice paper and Mod Podging it onto your slice, you're going to need to move swiftly. Now, I want to cover this real quick, just in case you run into this. See right here when I got in a hurry and I tore his cap? Don't sweat it, because if you're doing on these little pie slices, see how they're turned a little awkward? By the time I put him on there and I Mod Podge that, you will not even know it. You won't even realize it. It won't even be noticed at all. It will actually lay right down. And even holding it there, you can barely tell that had a tear. So do not sweat it. On some of these, like where a water dropped or something, on mine, it bled a green. But by the time I finish these, you'll see. You won't even know that any of that happened. The first one I'm going to do fits really well on its circle. And then that way, I kind of get my groove going. And just putting the Mod Podge on there. And just a thin coat. Don't go crazy, because this is going to preserve it at the same time as placement. And on this one, I'm just putting up as far as I can and just rubbing it down. Now, I'll wait until that has settled down, and then I can go back and recoat those once they have dried a little bit. And it doesn't take long on this Mod Podge on these wood slices. It happens really, really fast. And so now I've got him in place, set him aside, and I'm going to work the fox here because I had that little tear, and just even coat. One smooth, even coat. I usually try to go in one direction. Should have just roller brushed them real quick. Little fox. And I'm just lining up his ears with the hole that's up there. And then right here with his cap. And see, you don't even know that anything occurred. Just real quick and easy. And you can follow right behind this and put your second coat of Mod Podge on there. But I'm going to get them all laid down and then go back and do that. That way I can take off the excess and seal them into place. Now all of them are trimmed up, and I do have my Mod Podge on here. So I'm going to take some antique and wax, and I'm going to see what will actually cling on these. Just a little bit of depth to them, nothing major or, frightening, so to speak, but just to give them a little bit of age. Now remember, if you put Mod Podge on them, then you're not going to get a whole lot of soak up of the antique and wax. And I'm just brushing it on here real quick, because I will turn around and wipe most of it off. And you can use a baby wipe with that. If you leave it planted like it is, it will actually dry over a period of time, and it finishes your pieces all at the same time. So if you're wanting the back to be darkened, you could definitely put some of the antique and wax on the back and, darken it up if you want to. And while it's still damp, I'm just wiping off the excess with just a dry cloth, and it just does a lot of difference. It also preserves them too, so it's like putting a finish on them at the same time. So see, that one's already dried pretty quick, and I'll have to use a baby wipe to take off the depth so that it's not as dark on that piece. And you can see like some of the detail of the actual pine slice is coming through on some of those. So that's just another way to give it some depth and give it some aging. And then if you take a baby wipe or even a wet wipe of any kind and just go over it, you can minimize some of the deepness of it so it's not as dark. And I go real quick because I don't want to remove all of it. It would be pointless in even having put it on there, but it just gives it a little more depth to it. Now, so you can see an apples to apples comparison. These are the ones that have been antiqued, and I've taken off some of the difference. And these are ones that haven't been antiqued at all. And that's just the depth, how much depth it gives it, and gives it a more robust look. And the longer you leave that on too, the deeper it can be, or like I said, the less you remove. My next step is making some bows to put on here. So I have this black suede leather strips, and it is ribbon size. And this suede black looks really good as a tie. And the tie really makes an ornament. It's really significant, even though you think it's the smallest thing. A lot of people really get hung up, especially me. It is always a challenge for me when I make ornaments to choose a proper tie for the ornament hanger. And I decided that these look okay like that, but a little bit of ribbon or something else. I thought about pine cones. I entertained, some greenery, but at least a little bit of ribbon. Now, this is velvet ribbon. This one's a blue one, and I also selected a gold. And the jute twine, just don't pay attention right now. These are freshly made, so I'll trim everything up. And so I think either a gold, and I've fixed that for these over here, and then the blue ones for these over here. Just a little bit of something there. The way that I make these is I just take me a strip. I decide how big I want it, and then I take that strip and I literally just fold it to where it's even per se. And in the center, I just take some jute twine or string. Right now I'm using jute twine because, well, it's suitable. And we want those, this is velvet, so it is one side of velvet, so it's slick underneath. And in order to make those tails come out this way, I'm going to wind that once, make sure it's to the back, put it in the center, make sure it's in the center, before you tie it anyway. and I just tie it in a knot in the back. Now, if I wanted to really get particular on these, I could take needle and thread, run a thread through there and knot them up. And I tie these pretty snug in the center. Some people use twist ties, but I don't have any silver ones or gold ones. I only have white, and that would stand out like a sore thumb. Have that tied up. Now it's pretty much ready. If I want to show those tails, I choose a side for them to come out, either, you know, the upper or the lower. So if I'm pulling on this one right now, it's coming out this way. So that means I will take this and lay it on top and bring it this way as well. And so I'll just clip this loose. I'll trim these up more. And that has my bow mate. The ribbon I get from Amazon. This is a 3-pack. You have gray. It's real pretty. The green and the blue. These are finished edge satin ribbon. This one is crushed ribbon. It came in, they call this the Christmas pack. So green, red, and copper. This red, though, is very Victorian color. Almost a blush and close to a light pink to me when you put it against red. So here's red and red. You got this Christmas red, then this is more Victorian red, but it is so beautiful. And so I am using the copper, or rather the gold, from out of that pack on the other ones. And what's really dynamic about this one is it has wooden spools. And you know how we are about our wooden spools. So that will definitely get repurposed, either to put more ribbon on, or, you know, paint it up and put a tree on it, or do something really beautiful with it. I will leave a link for both of these ribbons, and both of them are velvet. And that way you can find them on Amazon. So my next move here, tying my strip on there, and I will also place a stamp on the back of this. I may put Merry Christmas or my brand, my logo on there. And if I found my wood burning gel, I would even burnish it in here like a Merry Christmas or something of that sort. But just some ideas. And then again, you can leave them blank. But this will be a set, and this will be a set. So, once again, if you'd rather purchase than to make, check out dandelisoap.com/shop. And I will have the Christmas items in there. So for now, I've got a lot of ribbon bows to make, and that's going to keep me busy for a minute. And here is our first set that we created. This one with the blue velvet ribbon. And as you can see, each and every one of them are just absolutely gorgeous. They turned out just beautiful. Have been completed with a stamp on the back of Merry Christmas, each and every one of them, and are ready for a home that will love them and adore them. And here is the second set with the gold ribbon. It actually looks more copper, but it is absolutely beautiful. And they turned out just gorgeous. And once again, on the back, I placed the Merry Christmas stamp. And these are ready to go to a home that will love them very much. They're just absolutely gorgeous, each and every one of them.